Oke, saat ini saya bersama dengan Lori Chizik, pelatih utama dari Timnas Putri Indonesia. Hi Lori, how are you?
I'm very great, thank you. How are you?
Good, how are you? Have you been? I mean, what activities do you do lately during this pandemic?
Well, unfortunately, I'm in Melbourne, Australia, and we have a week ago gone into really strict lockdowns because our cases spike. So right now we have a curfew at 8 o'clock. We're only allowed out for shopping and medical supplies, and we can only stay in a 5 kilometer. So really, I've not got a lot on right now. No basketball, no coaching, watching football on TV. That's about it.
Right. You said you're in Australia, but you're originally from Canada, right?
That's right. I was born in Canada, and I came to Australia. I was playing on the Canadian national team, and I came over here to play, and then got invited back to play in their professional league, the WNBL. But I was really near the end of my career, and so I got into coaching, fairly quickly. I did only plan to come over for 1 year, but now it's 30 years later, I'm still here.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about basketball, especially in relation to the last position you held as the head coach for the Indonesian national team, the women's basketball. Can you tell us a little bit? What did you see from the experience in Indonesia, and how did you evaluate the performance of the team overall?
Well, to be honest, it was a job that sort of just came out of the blue. I had been involved with our women's national team, had gone to the Olympics, and was really just back in Melbourne coaching, doing my school coaching, and I got a call to see if I would be interested. And of course I'd be interested. I mean, it's such an honor to be able to coach any national team at that level. And to try a different country where it's a different culture was something I wanted to do straight away. So it was interesting. It was challenging. It took me out of my comfort zone. But I have to say, and especially now this year, with all that's gone on and reflecting back to last year, I'm just so thankful that I took up that opportunity and, ran with it for the 6 months that I was there. When I say that it presented challenges, probably not so much the basketball side of it. The team was sensational. The girls were so good at trying to embrace what I was trying to do, because it was a bit of a different style of play for them, but they were so willing to learn, and their energy and enthusiasm that went into it was second to none. Probably the challenges for me were a little bit of the language, obviously, although quite a few people, spoke enough English that I could get by all right. Lots of funny instances where I said things that got completely misinterpreted. The coaching side of it was, as far as, my assistance was probably different to what I'm used to. I'm used to a more collaborative coaching panel where, decisions are made, discussed, talked about. And so I think that was something a little bit new for the assistants I had. But again, to their credit, they embraced it. We worked through things, the communication, and, we were able to come up with a really good working experience for everybody. Not sure if I've answered your question or not, but just gives you a bit of background into my thinking when I went over there. Okay. As far as the actual players go and the skill level, again, when I got to tryouts, I had never met any of them. I had been over probably I'd been over in February, and I started in July, and I'd seen a tournament. So I saw a couple of them play from the fever, the Surabaya fever. But other than that, I didn't know them. They didn't know me. And so that was interesting to come into a tryout situation, not having any idea of the players you're looking at, their background, what they've done. I think that's a real positive, because you're now seeing everything with a fresh set of eyes. So anything that they show me is what I am there to see, to pick them. So that was a challenging process to go through that, but it really gave me a good indication of what they were capable of doing, what the things I needed to work on and introduce. And sort of bring to the table.
Yeah. Um, you're given the challenge, if I may say, a challenge to lead the Indonesian national teams in the regional championship, in the regional tournament in SEA Games in 2019. I don't know if you have previous experience or previous knowledge before about the competition in Southeast Asia, but from what you've seen in the SEA Games, where do you put the Indonesia compared to other nations or other countries in terms of the women's basketball?
Well, let me tell you, I had no idea. I had no idea of our opposition. I knew through being in our national program, the Asian style of play was very quick, lots of three-point shots. Their players are much smaller than we're used to here in Australia, but I didn't have specific knowledge on Thailand, Malaysia, the Philippines, probably our main rivals and the team we played over there. But after a few months, and lots of scouting around, and this is where coaches networks come in very handy, because the Philippines were playing some games against New Zealand. Well, I know the New Zealand coach personally, so I'm able to get some intel through that way, and you just really try and get as much scouting information as possible before you go into a tournament like that. And some of our coaches were really good at just scouring the internet to try and find games that we could scout these teams. When we got there, one of our, the things that we had to deal with, one of the main things we had to deal with was at these particular SEA Games, and I'm not sure of the past ones, but certainly for these SEA Games, you were allowed to have naturalized players play. And so we knew that the other teams had some naturalized players. And in fact, we had a naturalized player, a player from Canada, who was an unbelievable player. She joined us in August. So was there from August to the end of November, all in our preparation. The thing that Kim brought to the team was she wasn't only just a very good player herself. She was a good scorer, great rebounder, but she made players around her better. Mm. So unfortunately for us, a week out from the SEA Games, we got notice that her papers just hadn't gone through yet, and she wasn't qualified to play. So now somebody who you've, really focused on running things around and being involved, and all your 4 or 5 months preparation has had her in there, we didn't have. So to the players' credit, they had to play different roles, they had to step up, and it was really challenging for them, and they did a fabulous job. And so if I could compare Indonesian basketball with, say, those 3 other nations, the Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand, who all had import, or I should say naturalized players, not imports, I would, and I say this very honestly, that if there was a level playing field, so either we had our naturalized player and Kim with us there, or you took away their imports, we would have won a gold medal. And I feel really strongly about that, because we were highly competitive without our naturalized player there. And the Philippines, their naturalized player was the one who dominated against us. Same with Thailand. So I really believe that the girls had an unbelievably great showing, and that certainly they're competitive with those other teams at the SEA Games.
To be honest, Lori, before I interview you today, I already talked to Christopher and also a couple of your players, Gabriel, Sophia, and Annisa, Widyarni, and they also share the same sentiments regarding the performance of Indonesia in SEA Games. Had the national team have the luxury of having the natural player, then the gold medal will be unquestionable. Unquestionably, being able to be, Indonesia will be able to reach it during the SEA Games. Now let's talk about the development of the Indonesian team, especially the women's basketball. You have so many experience in the past as a coach in WNBL in Australia and also several other teams. How did you approach coaching the Indonesian national team differently from the other teams that you've coached before?
That's a really good question, and it was I had to approach things differently. I had to make sure that I was brought over to really blend some of the things that I thought were important in the style of play, but at the same time, not just completely come over and go push aside the style of play that they had. So it was my job, you know, as I said, the Indonesian team and the other Asian teams are so quick. Now, I didn't want to take that quickness away and slow it right down. So we still wanted to be quick. We still wanted to shoot our 3-point shots, but our emphasis was on shot selection. And if it's not there, slowing it down and running some systems and some structure, which they hadn't necessarily in the past. And when you get to the level of playing against other quality national teams, you need that balance of the run and gun and then the structure when things aren't working. So my experience across all the levels and the different coaching jobs that I've had was able to assess what would work with the Indonesian team and what I thought was needed to bring that balance between enhancing what they already did, but also then bringing another element to their game. And so that took a while for me to establish. I needed to look at their skill levels, their fundamentals, what they could and couldn't do. And having the luxury of having them together for 5 months and training every day, we were able to work on not only the team aspect of the game, but some of their individual fundamentals. And I look at what I saw during the beginning at tryouts to what, you know, and I watched some vision of them just recently at the SEA Games. And I was like, wow, we were pretty good. Like our defensive rules were good. The girls knew what to do, how to rotate. We ran some stuff really well. So I look back and from when I first came to what the girls then produced, really, really proud of that team. I think they need to continue working on fundamentals. That's a really huge thing in Australian basketball is fundamentals. And getting that right as you go up the ladder in your, you know, your playing career.
You mentioned something about developing the fundamentals will be the key point of developing the Indonesian national team to the next level. But other than the fundamentals, after what you see in the strength and also the weakness of the Indonesian national team, the women's basketball, where should the Indonesian women's basketball move on from here?
Well, one of the things that's interesting, and I noticed it with the other countries, was the consistency of the same coach. So the Philippines coach, for example, I think he's been there for maybe 10 years now, at least 6 or 7. And so that continuity of a coach and what, you know, so I came in with a certain style of play and the way the girls wanted. It was quite different from whoever had the national team prior to me. Now, if they bring somebody else different in the next time, well, the girls are constantly having to make adjustments to their, you know, the style of play that the coach wants. So I think consistency in coaching is something that should be looked at. Because then that coach too, and this is something, you know, again, from my point of view in Australia is that we've always done is that coaches tend to not stay forever, but have, you know, a 4-year stint and then another one for the Olympics. So you have 2 Olympics to go through or 2 World Championships, because it does take players a while to adjust. And I think that consistency, that would then allow the players to know exactly what they need to work on in the eyes of that coach, and to be able to improve for the next time you have SEA Games, rather than starting at the beginning each time. You know, one thing I think that's really important is, and I hope I was able to do that along with my other coaches, is give the girls some ideas of what I thought they needed to work on to improve their game. So that they didn't just leave the national team and that was it. They go back to their clubs and they just, you know, continue and do whatever they do with their clubs. I think it's important that, again, that continuity of what you need to do, what you need to build on, so that the next time there's tryouts, the next time there's a team to be picked, you've advanced, you've gotten better. And these are the reasons, these are the ways you can get better and the things to identify to work on.
It's interesting when you say the continuity and consistency in coaching, because it's actually leading to my next questions. I spoke with Christopher and Gabriel and other players, and they speak highly of you. Can you tell if there's any chance that you might want to take the position as the head coach of the Indonesian national team women's basketball again for a certain period of time?
I would certainly consider it. There's no question about that. Obviously not in this time when it's COVID and that, but we're assuming that's all going to go away at some stage. But yes, because I think it's really important for the advancement. The thing that's different in Indonesia, and I understand it, is that somebody like Christopher may not be around the next time. And they get a different manager in, and that different manager might have a different person in mind and somebody to look at coming in. So I understand the system's different. It's not an appointment by the governing body sort of thing, the federation. It's slightly different. So I understand that. But if the opportunity presented itself, the thing for me is that it would be you know, I wouldn't feel like you're starting at square one, learning the style, learning the players, learning the, you know, you would be ahead of the game already and being able to work towards, you know, getting better and better. But certainly I would consider it if the opportunity arose. Like I say, I am so thankful I took that job, and for Christopher and you know, he made it so easy for me to go over there and you know, I always tell people the Indonesian people are just so wonderfully kind and warm and you know, I can't speak highly enough of the country.
Just quick questions. I just want to have your personal opinion on this. If you're chosen or elected or appointed as the women's national team coach, and you have the voice, or you have the decision to select one place as the center for you know, a training center for the Indonesian national team, which city you choose? Jakarta, Jogja, or Bali?
You didn't throw Surabaya in there.
Surabaya matter as well.
Well, to be honest, I mean, again, I had never been to Indonesia. I was like one of the few Australians that had never been to Bali before. In fact, many years ago, and it was interesting because I was looking at, you know, some things from my mom and dad, and my dad took a contract work in, I think you pronounce it Palembang?
Yeah, Palembang.
Palembang.
Yeah.
And my mom went with him, and that was the exact same age I was when I went to Indonesia, to Surabaya. So I think, I mean, I had a great experience in Surabaya. The training facility was, you know, was really good. The access to everything, it was easy. I understand Jakarta is a fairly difficult city to get around. I mean, Bali would be nice, but I tend to think the players might not want to practice as much if we were in Bali. I know I wouldn't. I loved Bali. I ended up, you know, going there for 3 separate weekends, and it's a beautiful place, but I would think that it might be a bit distracting for players.
Because I saw your Instagram post with your husband, I believe, spending times in Bali after, you know, what you did as a head coach in the SEA Games.
Yeah. Well, he came over to visit, and so one weekend we went there, and my sister from Canada came to visit, and we went there for a weekend. And then one of my assistant coaches, Marlena, she got married there, which was unbelievable. Right. And so I went to a wedding in Bali too. And you know, one of the things I tell people was when I went over there, I had the motto that if anybody asks you to do anything, don't think about it, just say yes straight away. And so, you know, what a great experience I had by doing that. You know, oh man, I ended up at different markets and went to see Mount Bromo and some waterfalls outside, you know, just lots of different things, and food and that. So, you know, I do definitely have a soft spot for Surabaya.
From your experience coaching the Indonesian national team, the women's basketball, which player did impress you the most? I mean, maybe you can say improve the most after from the beginning you're coaching the national team until the end of SEA Games.
Well, there's probably a few players that I would, when I think back to tryouts, I think, and I just know, I have to apologize. I just go by their first names, the names that I called them. And all the girls will laugh because, you know, I just, I'm sometimes say them wrong. I go, oh, well, that's just the way I'm going to say them. So Dita, when she first came to tryouts, she hadn't played that long coming back from, I think, a knee injury she'd had the year before. And so at tryouts, so again, that's me looking at fresh eyes and just seeing what I'm seeing at tryouts and thinking, I'm not sure, like, she's just not really impressing me at the beginning of tryouts. And, but she did enough to, you know, keep hanging in there. And as the tryouts went on, it was, you know, I could see more and more what she was able to bring, and her tenacity and the way she got after the ball and that. And then when I think about her at the end of the SEA Games, how, you know, if I compare the two, she had improved so much. And I think her improvement came not only through her basketball, but just in her confidence in her knee and just played. And, you know, so she was somebody that I saw a lot of improvement during the course of our journey. Yuni was another one who was sort of, she's quiet, Yuni, and you know, she just went about her business, and you know, we knew that she had some really good things about her game. She just got better and better, and she really embraced what you know, the style of play that I wanted. It really suited her and her body type and her physicality, and so she was probably our standout player at the SEA Games. Very consistent, really consistent throughout the whole time that I had that team. Just got better and better consistently. Chitta, she was another one that, you know, I think she needed, as soon as we identified her strengths and what she could do, and, you know, she's got an unbelievably explosive first step and could get by players. But then it was her decision making once she got by a player. Should I pass it? Should I go all the way? Should I shoot it? And so we worked really hard on that decision making, and she improved out of sight in you know, what she was able to bring to the table in the SEA Games compared to at the beginning. So, you know, that's just a few of the players. I mean, I could go through all of them. Clarita was somebody else that, you know, she sort of got this really laid back attitude, always has a big smile on her face. And you sort of go, oh, is she really serious about this? But she can play, you know, and she the same thing. When she got out of the habit of just catching it no matter where she was and shooting it, when she started then realizing what a good shot was and what wasn't, you know, she took her game to another level as well. So those are just a few. Like I said, I could probably go through all of them. You know, I think of young Husna, young Adelaide, you know, young, you know, I mean, it's still, other than probably Wulan, who would retire, you know, after a spectacular career. You know, Gabby's 28 right now, I think turning 29 soon. Well, that's still plenty of time in your basketball career if you want it to be. And then it goes down from there, you know, 26, 25, 21, 20. So there's lots of young, promising players that have lots of room for improvement.
Okay, this will be a last questions for you. As you mentioned, you have a, you know, uh, a heart for the city of Surabaya. I think you kind of like fell in love with the city of Surabaya. Surabaya also well known for its traditional cuisine. I don't know if any of the players, when you're in Surabaya, took you to some interesting food, and what kind of food that might be.
Oh, I love the food there. When I first went over, like, I literally tried to try whatever people, said, try this. To begin with, anybody I took me out was very mindful of, not introducing me to anything that was too spicy. But by the end, I was really into the spices and what, and I remember going out for some street food, for some, a type of chicken, and we were eating it with our fingers and our rice, and it was just, I went, this is so cool, but there was some, I can't remember the specifics, but some of the fish that I had, and the way it was served, I hadn't had before. But I love the flavors, the Indonesian flavors, and I think the chicken sautés are still one of my favorite. The nasi goreng is a favorite. The standards that you guys probably go, that's like having a meat pie in Australia probably. But it's the food was really good, really good. I worry that if anybody from Indonesia comes and visits me here in Australia, that my cooking would seem so bland to them that nobody would want to eat it. They'd have to bring their own spices.
Well, Lori, one thing I can say, when you can enjoy eating with your hands, you already become Indonesian.
Yeah.
All right, Lori. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for this short interview. Thank you so much. And we look forward to having you back as a head coach for our national team, maybe in a better situation. And please stay safe during this pandemic.
Yes, well, I hope that everybody in Indonesia is staying safe and healthy and positive. It's a time where we really need to sort of connect, put a smile on each other's faces, and stay active if we can. Keep playing basketball.
Do you have any maybe some message for your players?
Oh, I'd love to say hello to my players. I message them every once in a while when I see it's their birthday, but at the end of the SEA Games, Bung, they made me the most amazing book with pictures, and then they each wrote to me. And I bring that out and I look at it and I have such fond memories. The girls and the staff, everybody involved means so much to me, and have a real special place in my heart. And so I really hope, one, that they're doing well, two, that they're working on their basketball. And one thing I say to them all, use your left hand on the left side of the basket. I'm watching you. But mostly, I hope everybody's safe and healthy, and I miss everybody.
All right. Thank you so much, Lori.
Thanks, Bong.
Thank you.